As I'm working with advice firms and advisors themselves, one of the things that I get asked a lot is, what about activity? How many appointments a week should an advisor actually be doing in their role? Now, this question invariably comes up because we're looking at a firm and we're looking at performance levels and productivity and reviews. We're looking at sustainability, pay rates. We're looking at really the value chain of individual advisors and a business itself. And I have to say that this is one of the most important metrics. Now, I'm also going to give you my disclaimer in saying this before I answer, and that is, it really depends. It depends on the circumstance. It depends on the complexity of the work that you're doing. But I'm going to give you my generalizations and my observations. And I understand that a lot of you are probably going to be sitting there going, what? That's unrealistic. That's unreasonable. But it is what I'm here to do. And part of that is to challenge your own measurement of what that hurdle rate is. See, to me, an advisor, regardless of your denomination, whether you're an accountant or a financial advisor or a mortgage broker or a coach or consultant, your role is actually sitting in front of clients. Your role is to actually be an advisor. So if you're not being an advisor, the majority of your time, are you really in that role? And that's the first thing that I'm going to say to you. So if you were looking at your time spread throughout the week and 20% of it was spent actually speaking to clients and the rest was working on files, managing process and systems, then I would say you're not an advisor. I would say you're some administration person who part-time moonlights as an advisor. And this is an interesting concept because I also have had the pleasure of sitting down and working through hundreds of different scenarios. Is it worthwhile to have an advisor, say a financial advisor who's also a paraplanner? Is it advisable to have a manager in an accounting firm who's also client-facing but supervising and doing the back-end work? Where does the line get drawn? And in my experience, I'm going to say this to you. The better specialized you can be as a person, the more valuable your role becomes. And if you're splitting your time between multiple roles, then it's very difficult to be great at either one of them. So if you're a financial advisor who half your time sees clients and the other half of your time works on producing statements of advice and following up, then typically neither will you produce the statements of advice efficiently or effectively, and neither will you be a great financial advisor at the same time. That's been my general experience. Now, some people do make exceptions to this rule, but very few of them. So let me go over, at least for the financial advisors and accountants and lawyers, in most scenarios, what I think is an appropriate number of appointments a week. So the first thing that I would say is, if you are doing a lot of your own groundwork with clients, you're booking appointments, you're doing a lot of the follow-up work, then I would say 6 meetings a week. And on average, meetings in this range will be from an hour to an hour and a half. Is that the most appropriate use of an advisor's time? Typically no. So then we move up the value chain. And in my experience, if you have a senior advisor who is actually a senior advisor and they're not doing at least 8 appointments a week, then they're really underutilizing their capability to bring value to the table. Now, in my own personal situation, over the majority of time that I've been a practicing advisor across a whole range of denominations, business advisory, financial advice, mortgage broking, insurance advice, to being a business coach, a business consultant, a business strategist, I would say for me personally, I've always averaged above 14 meetings a week. Always. And when we sit down and work out our business plans, it's always around, at least my part within that role, being able to deliver 15 meetings a week. So 15 meetings a week is my hurdle rate. Now, Who is it that's capable of doing 15 meetings a week? So let's come back to that spectrum. So how do you go from 8 to 15? Well, the next step is going from 8 to 10. And in order to be in that 8 to 10 to 12 range, you generally speaking need to be not organizing your own appointments, not doing most of the follow-up work. You literally just need to be in appointments. You shouldn't be spending time doing file noting. And there's a whole range of ways that you can reduce this. So often I'll sit down and I lay out all the variables for an advisor or a business. Well, how come you're not doing that many? Why? What else are you spending your time on? A lot of the time it's file noting and inappropriate file noting practices. This can easily be addressed with different systems. So as you move from 8 to 10 to 12, it's about the level of support that you scale behind you. So if you're a senior advisor on your own, but getting help doing the follow-up, then 8 meetings a week is where you should be at. Once you start getting assistance in the meetings, having someone co-chairing, having an associate advisor, someone translating what happens in the meeting to the back-end delivery work that takes place, that's when you start moving up the spectrum. And from there, it becomes a case of energy management. And I will say that when I'm assessing this and working with people and figuring out where their value chain lies and how to get the most out of it, the personality does come into play. Because I can tell you that not everyone can or should be doing 15 meetings a week. It does take a lot of energy to sit down with clients. So energy management then becomes a factor. Not only capability, but skill set, because there's a lot of learned things you can do to manage your energy across that number of appointments. And this is where we truly get into being able to deliver maximum value to an individual. Now, in my experience, only about 2% of the advisors that I've worked with can maintain 15 meetings a week sustainably. But almost all of them, with the right support, can be sitting in that 10 to 12 meetings a week range. Now, this isn't about whether you choose to. This is about whether you are delivering the most value to the most people. And ultimately, it's only when you're sitting in front of clients, having interventional conversations, doing the bit that brings the real value advice to the table, that you're truly, in my book, being a great advisor. So my question for you is, how many meetings a week is okay for you? Where's your hurdle? Where's your benchmark? And are you part-time or are you serious? Thanks very much.